Hello my friends, nice to see you again. Do you remember my latest video about Iceland? We walked around Reykjavik and explored the life of the locals. This time, we'll go further and speak to those who moved to Reykjavik. We'll also see some natural wonders and a renewable energy source and even take a shower in the open. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and sit back to enjoy the video.
Iceland is one of the most sparsely populated countries in the world. Only 376,000 people live here. This is slightly more than in Nice and half as many in Valencia. Iceland is an island far away from Europe. For a long time, Icelanders lived isolated from other nations, so all native Icelanders are distant relatives of each other. So when dating here, in addition to the standard questions like what do you do for a living and what's your favorite music band, people also like to ask each other about their family tree. To avoid incest in 2013, local developers created an app where people can check their family ties. The app also has a handy feature called Incest Spoiler. This is where people lightly bump their phones against each other, and in case they share close relatives, the app sends alerts to them. The app became widely popular in Iceland. As it turns out, some Icelanders sometimes found themselves in an awkward situation when they met their exes and relatives' parties. But the population has become a little more diverse in recent decades. Despite the climate, quite a few migrants come here. They are attracted by the high standard of living. The average salary after tax in Iceland is about 5.5 thousand euros. Therefore, it is mainly labor migrants who come here. According to the 2022 data, about 60,000 foreigners live in Iceland. This is 16% of the country's population. More than 20,000 people come from Poland. By comparison, there are only about 1,300 Spaniards. The mass migration of Poles to the island began in the mid-noughties. At that time, a hydroelectric power plant and an aluminum factory were being built in the east of Iceland. And after 24th of February 2022, Iceland started accepting Ukrainian refugees. Last spring alone, about 600 people came here. Iceland is small. More people come. They just couldn't cope with so many refugees. I think those who came first were luckier because they were given good accommodation. There were hotels with food, and the Red Cross provided clothes. Icelanders really helped a lot. There were many adverts when Ukrainians were given some rooms for free. At first there was all the help needed. Refugees are given material aid, but the amount depends on the situation. For example, it depends on whether there is food in the hotel where they're placed or not. They give 5,000 krones per person per week. It's very little, but after some time, a month or two, they were paying 180,000 krones. That's about $1,260 a month. Yes. But you have to work, so you can't just use this allowance all the time, because as far as I know, there are always some employment meetings. Employers come and tell you what offers they have. Alina is also from Ukraine, but she came here not because of the war, but because of love. Not the love for the gorgeous nature. She married an Icelandic man. I didn't want to move here at first. I was very afraid. I gave birth to my child in Kyiv, and I dragged it out for 7 months and didn't move. But in the end, when I moved, I liked everything a lot. I started a blog. It was my outlet, and it helped me live. Basically, Iceland and I became friends. Okay, what do you do? That's the most interesting part. What do you do for a living? Right now I'm working as an assistant chef. What are they doing? I'm helping the chef. So you're chopping things, cooking, preparing food, right? Yeah, that's right. How much does an assistant chef earn in Iceland? I don't work full-time. I'm doing 75% of full-time hours, and I get $2,000 net salary. And then it depends on the number of hours. Weekends, night shifts. Night shifts here are 5 to 8 p.m. When there was a pandemic, we were stranded on the island for 2 years. And despite all my love for the country, I was really starting to lose my mind. We traveled all around the island. We stayed in all sorts of beautiful places, but you spend most of your time here. There's a lot of interesting places, different museums, but you go to the same places all the time. The city center, the ocean, and you feel like you're in a cage. And of course, I have to mention prices. You can't go out as much as in Ukraine. What amazing restaurants are in Ukraine, how cheap they are. You look at it as a disadvantage, but it can be a plus. After living here, you come to Ukraine or another European country and you think, I'll buy everything here. That's it, exactly. You come to different places and you can't stop spending money. We were in Italy and I spent money, and it doesn't get spent. The most expensive thing is renting a flat. The big problem now is that there just aren't any. A lot of people have come here, and it's unreal to rent a flat now. How much do you pay in rent? I have a small studio and pay about $850. It's a 20-square studio flat. That's considered cheap. I guess you can say we're lucky. Nowadays, studios start at $1,100. If it's not a studio but a one-bedroom flat, the prices go up to $1,500 or $1,600, and you need a deposit for 1 to 2 months. How much does a taxi cost? From Reykjavik to the airport? About $200. Where do Icelanders get that kind of money? They earn a good wage. By the way, a lot of people have 2 jobs. It's popular here. And how good is the public transport? It's good, but if you have to get somewhere by a certain time and you have to change, this is where you can miscalculate time. I traveled by bus for a few months. I got bored and decided to switch to a car after all. I really don't like to drive, but you can't really do it without it here, because you can wait a half hour for a change. The city is small, everything is close, but because of the fact that you spend a lot of time on transfers, it turns out to be, by car, it takes me less, say 15 minutes, and by bus it takes an hour. To be honest, petrol is more expensive here than anywhere else, but I don't feel that it's expensive because, for example, a bus pass costs $100. A month? Yes, but there are different prices. If it's Straighto, it's $100. If it's Clap, it's a bit cheaper. I mean, everything's expensive. Everything's expensive, yeah. How much do groceries cost? Well, we're used to it. But of course expensive, and groceries are expensive. And is kindergarten free? No, it's not. How much is it? We got a bill for 70 grand for a month and a half. 70,000 krones is still about $500. And if you don't have any money for kindergarten, then what? The child doesn't go to kindergarten. So the state does not help in any way? There are no free kindergartens? No, there are public and private kindergartens here. They don't differ much. They say the private ones are a bit better, but they're all great. Do you have to pay for both? Yes, private ones are a bit more expensive. We are happy with the kindergartens because, for example, there are 16 children in a group and there will be 5 teachers for them. On average, there are 3.5 children per teacher. We have a very interesting situation in our group. There are 2 Icelandic teachers, a guy, a Muslim, and an Asian girl. And guys here also work as kindergarten teachers. It's absolutely common practice. Work and marriage are the main ways to obtain resident permit in Iceland, as in many other countries. But some foreigners manage to live here illegally. In Reykjavik, I met Alexander from Belarus, who has been living here for 6 years. But only for the last 2 years has he been in the country illegally. If you don't have an ID document, you ain't worth nothing. You can't do anything, not even rent a place to live. And how do you find a way out? Cooperated with people who are leaving the island. So you're living on someone else's ID and under other people's names? And it was all fun when you're 20 years old. It's fun, but it gets boring. Is everything okay now? Everything's great now. Are you here legally now? Yes, I married an Icelandic woman. Found love. I probably wouldn't have gone into a relationship at all. Not that I'm aesthetic or try to live alone, no, but it was difficult because in our home countries we have a different mentality. Here women have more rights and they use them more actively. Give me an example. How is your wife exercising her rights that's outraging you? No, there's nothing like that here. There's respect. Iceland is a country of victorious feminism. In the World Economic Forum in 2022 Global Center Gap Report, Iceland was rated first in the world. Women hold important positions in politics and run large companies. And a few years ago, Iceland decided to completely get rid of sexual exploitation of women. Now, prostitution, strip clubs, and the production and distribution of pornography are banned on the island. In addition, local entrepreneurs are forbidden to profit from nudity of their employees. That is, even in an ordinary bar to dress the waitress in too revealing outfits. benefits will not work. Well, you can try, but you will dance big fines. In addition, every year there's a slut parade in the center of Reykjavik. At this event, feminists speak out against harassment and in favor of the right of women to wear any kind of clothing without prejudice. As the parade participants themselves say, in this context, slut is not an insult. The word means that every girl has the right to use her body as she pleases. Have you ever paid for your girlfriend on a date? No, but it's very easy to surprise the local girls just by gifting flowers. They're not used to being given flowers. Here women give flowers to women, not men to women. Now this was a life hack on how to win the heart of an Icelandic girl. Just give her flowers. Surprise her. An unusual experience, an unusual emotion works best here. Women don't want to get married because, specifically in Iceland, it doesn't make sense. It's not as compulsory as in other countries. Why do we want to get married? Or what is the purpose of marriage in general? Are you trying to say that a woman needs some kind of financial support? No, I don't. She sits there doing chores. The man works. That's what a classic family would be like. No, why does she need marriage? What's in it for her? Legalize the relationship so that in the event of a breakup, she can claim some sort of alimony. A child, because she has a child. Here, when you split up, the child most often lives 50% of the time with the mom, 50% of the time with the dad. And you don't have to be in a relationship for that. You don't have to be married. Basically, if the child has a father, even if they didn't have any relationship, just happen to have a child, still the father has responsibility for the child. They love the children very much. Nobody gives up on these children, and the father takes part in the upbringing. I personally know of the cases where it is the fathers who bring up their children, not the moms. They didn't have a relationship, she got pregnant, gave birth, and the fathers take care of the child's upbringing. A woman is not left in a situation where she carries the child on her own, where she's the only one taking care of it. The man shares the responsibilities. There is compulsory paternity leave. Guys, I'm standing next to the symbol of Reykjavik, the most famous building of the Icelandic capital. This is Hallg. This is the church. This is Hallg Church. I've almost learned how to pronounce its name. Anyway, it's one of the most impressive buildings in the city. It's a Lutheran cathedral that took more than 40 years to build, designed by the famous Icelandic architect Gudmund Samuelsson. It is said that the architect used the peculiarities of Icelandic nature in his work. When they were designing this particular Lutheran church, Samuelsson was inspired by the unusual Svartfoss waterfall and the basalt columns surrounding it. In fact, you can clearly see the basalt columns, these pillars in the architecture. Lutheranism became the natural religion of Iceland in the mid-16th century and has remained the official and most numerous religion in the country ever since. But of course, the main attractions of Iceland are not the churches or houses. The main reason people come here is the island's stunning scenery. Iceland's unusual nature has inspired local artists, poets, and writers for centuries. In modern times, local landscapes have been used to film directors for Hollywood films and cult TV series. Icelandic volcanoes, mountains, valleys, and geysers have played the role of other countries, worlds, and even planets in various films. Game of Thrones, Iceland was transformed into the harsh and wild outskirts of the Seven Kingdoms. In the Star Wars franchise and the film Interstellar, Iceland played other planets. In Batman Begins, the filmmakers passed off the local mountains as Tibet, and in Lara Croft, with Angelina Jolie, the Icelandic ice lagoon replaced the Siberian tundra, which the film crew did not reach. Thanks to its nature, Iceland is not dependent on oil and gas imports. This is probably the envy of many European countries this winter. All of Iceland's energy is based on renewable sources. Firstly, there are the turbulent rivers that feed hydroelectric power stations, and secondly, the numerous hot springs that provide heat, energy, and sometimes tourists. Behind me is the geothermal power plant. The principle of operation is quite simple. Magma heats up groundwater. This produces steam. The steam spins the turbines and electricity is produced. Production waste material is still hot water, which is also used either for swimming pools or for heating. Obviously, hot water is needed in the household. It is needed and important. There are many such power plants in Iceland, large and small. And in general, due to the fact that the region is volcanic, they get a lot of energy just from the ground. In addition, they have swimming pools in every more or less large city. Icelanders enjoy warm water all year round. They enjoy open-air pools, and it's just amazing. So the harsh climate is compensated by such a luxury as swimming in a pool with warm water. Here is a creek flowing from the power station. The creek is warm too. You can see there's still steam coming from it, but it's gradually cooling down. I think it's more or less cold here. Oh no, warm water! It's about 30 degrees centigrade here. It's 5 kilometers away from the power plant, and the water's still about 30 degrees Celsius. You can see a little steam coming off of it. And this is the unique Icelandic attraction. It's called the eternal shower. It's actually a shower with warm water flowing out of it. It feels like it's more or less 40 degrees, and you can wash yourself under it. I mean, you can stick something in and wash it like this. Cool. It's amazing. It stands along the road and anyone can take a shower. It works in the winter too, all year round. It's awesome, I want to be Icelandic. Behind me is probably Iceland's main tourist attraction, the Blue Lagoon. It's a spa complex with a giant, warm, blue pool. It's actually all condensate from a geothermal power plant that's right there on the horizon. Steam from a great depth, about 1,800 meters, comes up, spins turbines, and produces electricity. And the waste hot water is partially supplied to the city and used for heating, and partially they discharge it. It's basically a spillway. Nobody cared about it. It was just some kind of flat lake at first. Then in the 90s, they came up with the idea to make a resort here, to let tourists come here, bathe, smear themselves with all kinds of salts and minerals, and spend a lot of money. It's not so easy to get there. If you go in the summer, I recommend buying tickets in advance. You can do it through the website to make sure you get in the slot you want. In that zone there, which is intended for tourists, water temperature is about 38 to 40 degrees. Here there are special people in yellow vests to make sure that no one acts naughty or breaks the rules. There's a bar. It's a rather nice resort. And in the background, there's the power station. Actually, it's thanks to this power station that the resort is even here. Iceland is just amazing, and here you can swim for free, but the water is really cold. But you don't have to buy a ticket in advance. You can soak your feet as long as you want. This is how the path looks like among the lava fields. By the way, they have developed bicycle routes here in Iceland. You can travel on a bicycle and cycle all over the island, and there are amazing paths like this. Here's some moss. And behind that moss is a hotel. This is the hotel by the Blue Lagoon.
Well, my friends, how do you like it? I wouldn't want to check the biography of my future date, would you? But the scenery is surely stunning. By the way, I'm not finished with Iceland yet, so stay tuned. More videos are to come, and I bet you'll be surprised to find out more about Iceland. Don't forget to hit like, and see you later.